you know, it wouldn't be a green Ronin joint if we weren't, fashionably 11 minutes late. But you know how it goes. I do want to know if you can hear me, chat, right now, wondering what is Age. The idea so far, Reaper's Age, Slime Age, my favorite, non sequitur Age, yeah, most likely. Can you hear me, friends? Music now. There, that must be better. Thank you, Nicole. Salisbury Steak Age. Sounds delicious. I want to say hi to some folks in the chat and thank you all for coming to hear about engine number 3, the Sage issue. Nate, I see you. Thank you so much. You've been here. You've been holding down the fort for some time now. Combustion Waltz is here. Long live the Expanse. All hail the new Space Age game. Let's see. Stormer's here. Good to see you, friend. James Lothar. Jiminy. Jiminy. Marco Rico's here as well. Marco might be right. I don't know. We'll see. We also have, who else we got in here? Lots of great guesses. Christopher's here. Claude with the Salisbury Steak Age. My dear friend Nicole Andrews is in the audience as well, which I love. Tempo says, yes, we're here now. Chaosium had Hero Quest Worlds for basic role-playing game, but Green Ronin has Sage for Age. I like the Sage Age. We probably shouldn't keep you waiting. We have got a collection of some of the coolest people that we've had on the program to date. Now, I say the program. This is a special program just all about Engine, but, we stream quite a bit. Hey, GM Jonesy, good to see you, friend. Thanks for joining us. You're Platinum Prince. I love that, Nate. It makes me feel princely, but nothing feels cooler. Nothing feels more regal, more royal than hanging out with this collection of very cool people. Hi, friends. So what we have here on our hands is a group of amazingly creative folks who were contributors to this issue of Engine. And why don't we do this real quick? Let's do a round of introductions, and let's start with Steve, and we'll just kind of go across the top, and then we'll drop down to Monte and all the way to Sean. Okay? Steve, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Kenson. I am a staff designer with Green Ronin Publishing, and to a certain degree, Sage is my fault. So I will accept the appropriate portion of credit and or blame for it, but a lot of it has to do with Malcolm.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Sheppard. I am the editor for Engine and the developer for Modern Age and Fantasy Age. And essentially, Sage is a super light version of Age that Steve made and is now trying to foist off on me. So, but really, it was him that did the core design work. I sort of built it out for a specific purpose, which is to pack an entire role-playing game into this issue of Engine and have a variety of cool people make settings.
I'm Colm and I'm completely blameless. Nothing to do with Sage at all. I'm just a freelance writer that they managed to press gang into this, and I'm also director of the Museum of Games in Ireland for my sins, because I need a fourth job.
I love that. Awesome. Monte?
Hi, I'm Monte Lin. I am a freelance tabletop role-playing game writer and copy editor. I'm also a short story writer. I'm also have many other job titles. I'm also a managing editor of an Uncanny Magazine, which is a short story magazine.
Nice. Well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Having spent some quality time with this issue, I can't wait to get into it. But yeah, let's talk about some stuff here. Why don't we kick it off first by
Right?
saying,
We want to get all the intros done.
"Oh, I'm so sorry. I totally jumped right into it, Catherine. I apologize. Please, I know you so well now because we've hung out and talked about all the world's ills and solved problems and such. So that please, let folks know who you are."
All right, I'm Katherine Shuttler. I'm also a freelancer, and I've been with Green Ronin for a couple years. Malcolm just kind of surprised me. He was like, "Hey, you want to be in a magazine?" Yeah, okay, sure.
I love it. Sean?
I'm Sean. I'm a writer. I am a film critic. I've recently written a book about Atlantis that's coming out next year. And I'm doing this probably because I owe Malcolm Sheppard £5 or something. But yeah. But yes. And I'm from Wales.
Excellent. Yeah, and my apologies. I'm looking at the chat, and I'm getting ready to share with them some great news. Is that they can pick up this stuff right now. They can pick it up in the Green Ronin store. This is coming in hot.
Yes.
In our store at this link. And then you can also grab it at Drive-Thru RPG. Now, if you have your phone handy, you can up there in the corner, you can see the Green Ronin, and right above Colm, Green Ronin or Drive-Thru RPG. They will take you to, as if by magic, to those locations, and you can pick up a copy now and get your order in for you can pick up the PDF now. You can get your print order in, and it will arrive shortly. So, with that out of the way, and again, a hearty thank you for joining us, friends. Why don't we dive into the meat of the matter? We'll start off with Steve and Malcolm talking about Sage and what that's all about.
Sure thing. So SAGE stands for the Simple Adventure Game Engine, and started out with me messing around with the Adventure Game Engine and basically saying, how stripped down could we make this game and still have it be something that was playable and usable? And the answer is pretty darn stripped down, actually. My initial draft, I call it that of Sage, that was a one-page, 600-word summary, and it was pretty, initially functional. But Malcolm took it and ran with it and really built it out into something I think folks are really going to enjoy.
The cat will enjoy
Thanks,
it.
Tibby. That's
Right.
my cat, Tibby, in the background.
I love that. Hey, Malcolm, talk a little bit about sort of. Let's take it back to the
So
the
Steve
Yeah.
made this ultralight version of Age, and this is something we've been talking about for a while because, I've been working on the Age system for a while now, and it's been built out in certain directions. But also we realize that sort of Age, as it sort of ended up with Modern Age and Fantasy Age 2nd Edition and Cthulhu Awakens and games like that. Excuse me. It doesn't fit everything all the time, right? So, and there are certainly some settings where we think maybe a lighter system would work, or a system that's highly customizable.
Right.
And so we've always kind of wanted to play with this idea. And so Steve did it. And then I built it out a little more. Like, really, you could have played with what was in Steve's document, but it would be a very chatty table about how to interpret things.
Right.
So this generalizes it a little. So this takes what was very generalized, specifies it just a little bit for accessibility, and it added some detail to advancement and stuff you do. And originally stunts were streamlined away, but it's a very age thing to have stunts. So I put them back, and we discovered the funny thing is when you do this kind of thing, you discover new ideas along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Some of which have just been kind of rattling around in the design sphere that we have, and some of which are in reaction to what's in front of me. So, for example, bonds, which many of you know from relationships in Blue Rose and other games chiefly, we have tweaked those and repurposed them a bit, and taken, for example, we have sort of systems where stunts can happen on a failure or on being the passive party in
exchange,
and so on and so forth. So it was all cool stuff that we got to do, and this. And then, of course, what do we need for that? We need settings. And the nature of Sage is that it's extremely, you can really, really customize it. So I wanted a breadth of settings. So I got a hold of people who I were fairly sure could provide a great variety of things. And I'm really pleased with how it all came out. The main thing I wanted to accomplish here is, aside from providing just a fun thing, like in a whole RPG and like a little magazine, is to sort of get people used to us doing a variety of weird and interesting things with age, right? Even some radical things with age. And we've been going in that direction for a while. Like we put lots of options in our books. You can do this, you can do that. So we're it's almost stripping it back. So you have the next level of direct involvement in what you designed for your own games.
Well, Malcolm, I think that, our sort of approach with age has always been, ever since Chris foolishly handed it to us, to basically to modify it to suit whatever it was we were working on. And so as we've done more age system games, from Fantasy Age and Modern Age and The Expanse and on and on, we've continued to kind of modify and add to and change around things and be like, oh, we could add this system here and we could do this differently this way, and that gets folded back into the next age thing. And it really has been just a continuously evolving system, which I really like about it, because it's just a constant source of creativity in the design.
There's a kind of dialogue that takes place where one of us will be working on the other thing, on something, and the other can see it and fiddle with it and use it. And one of the examples for is the churn.
Yes.
Started with the churn for The Expanse, because the churn, you invented the churn. I made it a little stuffy because I nicked it from Modern Age, and then you nicked some of that stuffiness.
Right.
Similarly, one thing in 5th season is, we had started getting into discussions about like things to do other than knock people into comas and kill them in physical conflicts, right? And so I had kind of a structured idea that I eventually submitted for Owen when he was the Fantasy Age developer. And then I think when you worked on 5th season, you stripped it back to, you can impose a condition on a person you've defeated.
Yeah.
Right. Which, and sometimes that's what happens. Like you see what somebody's doing, you go, oh, I want to make a little change, and it kind of adds a bit of cruft. And then someone else goes, oh yeah, if I just took the short route, to achieving the same design goal.
Right. Right.
Yeah, Nate, we'll get to it, brother.
Yeah,
Act like
yeah.
you're watching a program, and we will deliver. I promise.
They did all the interesting stuff.
Now, Malcolm, I have a question for you. One of the things that I really enjoy about you is that you approach the creative process very open about it, and you talk a lot about sort of the ins and outs of it all. But it would, and I, as somebody who is sort of peripheral to design development, but certainly a part of that creative process, it strikes me that I would consider you sort of the designer's designer, the developer's developer, like somebody who really can see and appreciate the work I'm getting nods. Yeah. And so it must be really special for you to be able to utilize Engine as sort of this platform to do some different out of the box stuff, but then also work with people that you respect and really enjoy discovering or calling them back to kind of work with you again. Talk a little bit about that process and how you sort of come about, sort of the idea comes and then you're like, I know 4 people that can really help me out with this. Like, how does that happen?
In this case, I didn't. I took the idea from Steve.
Yes, indeed. Let's all imagine. That. Yeah.
But of course, you can talk about how game systems work in the abstract, but you need them iterated in ways that are narratively enticing to string a bunch of expensive words together. Unless there's something that you can imagine that's interesting that's happening, it doesn't matter what the system is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I needed people such as the 4 you see who are not Steve or I to do this very thing, right?
Malcolm showed up at each of their homes like Nick Fury. Like, I put together a team.
I didn't know if it was a raccoon or if it was Malcolm.
Right. Malcolm's taller.
I've only been to one of their homes.
But whose? That's what the
right.
Yes.
Do they know that you've been to their homes? That's
Which one? They don't know.
Guess in the chat whose home it was. Malcolm,
right? Yeah.
No, I visited Sean in Wales ages ago. It was great.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
shout out to Dave Brookshaw, who I saw there too.
Engine to me feels like a really like a playground, like a place for lots of freedom. The rules are a little lighter and a little more relaxed, so we can kind of do things outside of the box. It's a really kind of an interesting project.
But I mean, look at these folks. They can. I knew they could do it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we could, if you'd like. Let's jump into talking about their specific contributions. They can kind of talk about when Malcolm dropped from the ceiling in my home and recruited me for this effort. Why don't we start with Colm or the cat? That's like, I'll go. How about me? Let's talk about Zarat Adventures in the Shadow of Fire and Ash. Colm, what's this all about?
Good question. I don't know. No. So first of all, I'd like to say thanks to Malcolm not only for asking me, but also for being an excellent editor and taking what I offered and polishing it into something actually looking like an RPG entry. No, basically it's a desert setting, so it's set in a world where there's no kind of there's a society, there's no kind of ruler, there's no kind of law, which sounds kind of like it could be chaotic, but basically what binds people together is the need to survive in this extreme environment. I've always been kind of fascinated with the idea, and we were talking about this just beforehand, that things like waiting too long for your food or waiting too long on a coffee, these are kind of privileges that we have because we're not conscious of our day-to-day survival. But when you twist that and put it into a world where every day is a struggle to survive and maintain, you can kind of come up with a society that holds itself together with all the exigencies and all the complexities of human relationships and all the challenges that any society brings, but manages to hold itself together, because if it doesn't, they all suffer. They all kind of die. So, that's what fascinated me about this. And, obviously you kind of, there's a lot of tropes out there about deserts, so you have to kind of be careful not to reproduce something like Dune or the Fremen and all that kind of thing. So and there's enough kind of those kind of things. So I wanted to kind of really focus on the people who inhabit there and society. But the idea is it's a drop-in world that you can there is an adventure there. There is a kind of a protagonist, and there is kind of some adventure hooks. But the idea was to create the world that anyone could drop into and play it as they like, as a cinematic game or something more gritty or something just kind of lighter, and to have this world where they could basically play in and just create whatever type of game they wanted to.
I love that. I love it. Now, is there a particular element that you are, say particularly proud of, or is there, and also is this a story that just kind of came out as a result of Malcolm lighting a fire, or is that something that's been rolling around in your brain for a while?
I think the idea of extreme conditions has always been something that interested me. I mean, I always think that if you want to look at anything humanity, you look at the extremes and the kind of and bring it in from the extremes into the center, as opposed to looking from the center and then bringing it out. But I wanted to kind of have a desert that was different. For example, one of the settlements in it is Ramad, which is basically a huge complex of healers. Not the kind of thing you'd expect to exist in a desert, but they're like, they can be, renowned healers in your world, and they have this kind of, there's a plant that only grows in the desert that can make you immune to fire, and they kind of create that potion. But it's this basically huge, almost kind of Templar hospice structure where these healers exist. So something that you wouldn't expect to be there in the middle of a desert is also kind of a little kind of makes it different than maybe other desert settings. I've always been obsessed with the idea of obsidian weapons as well. So I think that was kind of knocking around my head. Just how would you make obsidian weapons a viable kind of option? And
they're just cool, right? Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely, and I have to say, whoever did the artwork really nailed that kind of that kind of setting with the two daggers. It looks really, really cool. I'm really happy with that. So I mean, I suppose rather than one kind of key idea, there was semblances of ideas or parts of ideas bouncing around my head for a while, which I wanted to put in some extreme settings. So when I kind of pitched it to Malcolm that I wanted to create this kind of desert world with obsidian and volcanoes in the background, which erupted, and fire magic, and this kind of big bad who could, hold back the eruptions for a time, and whatever that time would be dependent on maybe what the PCs do, or maybe how they manage that situation, or maybe not, if you wanted to just have it happen as the DM and just kind of kick it in. And also historically, I've always been fascinated with kind of the particularly the Bedouin culture, but there is this thing in a lot of older cultures of honor, basically, of kind of a code of honor that, and again, it goes back to the society having to have an unspoken code, otherwise the society falls apart. So to have this kind of transactional kind of conversation where if you say you'll do something, you'll do it, otherwise the society will react against you and push you out of the society because that thing wasn't done. It's very, very different in the world that we all occupy, in the world that we all live in, but it's also historically, when you go pretty far back, it's the world to a large degree where we came from. So
I love
that's kind of a fascinating transition for me,
Absolutely. And I love the juxtaposition against sort of our modern day kind of world, and there are definitely some differences, and fantastic. Yeah, the artwork is phenomenal, and having read through it, it's folks, you will absolutely love this. Colm, thank you so much for sharing the details, and why don't we do this? Let's jump over.
I just wanted to
yes, please
add something. So one of the things that really jumped out at me was the difference in cultural values, and also it was there is in the antagonist there's kind of a theme of encroaching imperialism, because you have the big bad who comes in not just with innovations in magic but also innovations in debt, right? When I was going through Colm stuff, I also I read through in a kind of scattershot way a bunch of things, and one of them was excerpts of this book called The Art of Not Being Governed, an anarchist history of upland Southeast Asia, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically an alternative history of people who live in rough terrains around that area, with instead of the traditional narrative of, oh, these are people who have been driven here, that we're talking about people who've formed a distinctive culture specifically to not be a part of the kind of hierarchical systems that, when expressed in feudalism, are kind of fantasy genre default assumptions.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah,
was really
I mean,
trying to stay away from the imperialist thing as an Irishman because it's always kind of a dangerous territory for me.
Right.
But yeah, but you're absolutely right, Malcolm.
Yeah,
I kind of
Colm, yeah.
skirt around that issue, you know.
Yeah, calling in from Ireland. Yeah. But so absolutely fantastic, and that's what's lovely about all of this, is that we can explore all kinds of different ideas and different ways of living, and the whole
Yeah, I love how diverse all of these settings are, and folks are going
Yes.
to get a look at all of that.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we do this? Let's jump over to Monte. Monte, tell us a little bit about your setting.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Guardians of the Key. It's very much like cosmic space opera style adventure. I was going for big heroes doing big heroic things. Very much DC's Green Lantern or Marvel's ROM Space Knight.
Yep.
Basically,
I love that.
Yeah, basically the PCs find these ancient artifact keys that have been long lost and give them access to the cosmic power to be the heroes they can be. Although in the beginning, of course, they don't have access to all the power, so it's a lot of like learning how to figure out how to use these abilities and the keys, and then discover that there's this wide, giant, galaxy universe of like xenodiverse species, all living in harmony, but then they still, of course, need help. There's always some sort of like galactic disaster, a supernova, a black hole, like an errant black hole, going through a system that needs these new heroes to save the day.
Yeah. Monte, Malcolm summarized this setting for me, and I was immediately so jealous. I was like, I wanted to have come up with that because it sounds so awesome.
I'm going to spill a tiny secret. Generally, when I pitch 3 ideas. And there's always the one idea that I really like, one idea that I can do, and then the panic idea. The key was my panic idea. It was my last. I was literally writing it up at the last minute, and was like, I don't know what happens if he chooses it. And of course, Malcolm chose it.
Right. Yeah. That's always how that goes.
No, Monte, you got
things I thought was super cool about it, and I think is super cool about it, is the fact that you also preserve, kind of in Earth's solar system, a gritty science fiction setting.
Yeah.
So the typical narrative is going to be like, it's going to be quite similar to The Expanse, right? You're a rock hopper trying to figure out new ways to recycle your own pee, when all of a sudden, cosmic power. And I love that like enormous tone swing that you can do right from the beginning, because it also reminds you, like, one of the things that I find often very cinematic settings lack is a sense of stakes and groundedness, because you're flying through space and using magic and things like that, right? So it's easy to forget that most people in the setting are not, and the importance of what you're doing has to address that. And this does that so well. It answers that so well. I'm quite happy with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Monte, please.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, I wanted to have room for the group to decide like what kind of stories they wanted to tell. If they just wanted to go for the big, like, cosmic, big heroes trying to do big things, there's room to do that. But I wanted the characters to have like a background of like, well, in the setting, it's kind of assumed that the characters are kind of from spacer backgrounds, desperate people, stuck on a rock somewhere, being not supported by the corporations that are employing them, so that they do have that background and knowledge that Earth needs maybe some help too, and to correct things and help fix things. And so there's room if you wanted to play like rebels on Earth trying to like overthrow an oppressive government, just happen to be backed up with cosmic power, kind of thing. So.
Right. Yeah, the tagline in this is let me pull this up again. It says, "Against autocracy beyond the stars." Talk to me about why that's the tagline and sort of what who's expressing this sentiment.
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking when I. Wow, you caught me there.
No worries. I mean, it's very evocative, and
it's kind of a spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, there's a please go ahead.
Yeah, I get it is kind of a spoiler. The autocracy is kind of like the main bad guy, and I wanted this organization to be very I don't know what the term is, very narrow-minded. They have a very colonialist attitude.
Yeah,
they're basically slowly conquering and taking over the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
But I also wanted the counter, right? There is this gigantic galaxy with like a whole set of like different species working together, who are now trying to contend with this new threat. And then that's where the player characters come in, right? They're the ones who are kind of called to. I don't know how much I want to spoil of the main bad guy.
Well,
but
it's certainly relevant. Sorry, it's certainly relevant, don't you think, Monte? That we had one of the features of the antagonists is that they get up to all kinds of awful things, but the average person trying to make a living around Saul doesn't know about anything, any of that. And so there's certainly a resonance about kind of the wall of information that happens when when people outside your nation are exploited, right? And how much you get to find out about that.
Lovely.
Right? And also how those same mechanisms, once they are tested out abroad, right, of violence,
get used to
surveillance, I thought there was a lot of Imperial Boomerang resonance.
There is a theme, a thread that unites some of these stories. But fantastic stuff. Absolutely love it. And how our layout wizard, our art director supreme, has really outdone himself. It's just so evocative. It's really good stuff. Well, thank you, Monte. Now, anything else you want to share about sort of this creation of yours? Any recommendations on how it should be experienced? Any wine pairings or
Yeah, like I said, I kind of set it up so you can have a lot of different kinds of flavors. Like I said, if you wanted to have it be a kind of a gritty spy, thriller with cosmic power, then you can do that. If you wanted to be, flying in the middle of a black hole to rescue a colony ship or something, you can do it with cosmic power. So I think it can pair with a lot of different wines. I'm following a metaphor. So.
Excellent. Wine or a cocktail, or maybe whatever you like, a mocktail if you are so inclined. Thank you so much, Monte. Fantastic. Katherine, I love this. I love all of this, frankly, but talk about this specifically, the Half Moon Department.
So the Half Moon Department was kind of, once again, because Malcolm specifically asked us, he was like, I need you guys to make something that people can play in kind of a lot of genres. And so I specifically went into this. I was like, well, how many kind of stories can we tell? And kind of the general theme was the idea that when you have kind of two cultures or two kinds of people that meet, for some bizarre reason, you don't get a blending. You get both groups saying, oh no, you're an outsider.
Right.
And so the whole theme was that, like, no matter what your origins are or like how much backing you have, you're an outsider and you're kind of shunted off to these kind of I call it, I think I called it in development to Malcolm, I was like, the department of weird toys that no one wants
Right.
to deal with because you're inconvenient, like your very existence becomes an inconvenience because you don't very tidily fit into a box that society has drawn. And I also was just kind of really on a Yu Yu Hakusho bender at the time, so I was just like, why don't we kind of mix the idea of like the underworld, the living world, and the spirit world, and whenever any of these three meet, you're an outsider and you're also a spirit detective, so you kind of have the job no one wants because you're the person that no one wants.
Love that.
It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. The concept is just so fascinating. Talk to me about what are some of the experiences that this setting elicits for people who will be picking it up?
It is specifically by design. Like, this isn't even like a thinly veiled like subtext. Like, this is overt, kind of like this is the like biracial, mixed racial experience where it's also that like, oh, you come from these two backgrounds and none of them want you, and yet you kind of bring something interesting because you kind of see it. You see all the ugly things for what they 100% are. And so that kind of makes you the only qualified person to like do any investigation. Because
It's
you kind
great.
of don't have a dog in the fight because no one wants you.
Right. And yet the special skills and understanding to be able to manage these anomalous sort of situations, dangerous or what have you, in the gamut of experiences. It's great.
It was also born of kind of like my personal hatred of what I call bureaucratic hell.
Yes. Yeah.
So all these other kind of big name departments, it's completely like, how much paperwork, can we do? And the answer is a lot, but no one wants to cooperate with the Half Moon department.
It's great. I love it. Yeah.
If you hate taxes and you hate health insurance, this is the game for you.
And if you hate TPS reports, it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. Any thoughts on how folks should kind of approach engaging in this encounter?
A little bit of frustration is supposed to be there by design, but the overall theme is that the people, like the players, should all kind of be together because they all kind of have this shared experience and kind of living on the margins.
Yeah. It's awesome. One of the big headlines. It's a thankless job, but it's fantastic work, Katherine. Thank you so much. Now, is there? I'm trying to get to the. I'm furiously scrolling and looking for stunt tables.
Yes. Good examples as far as that. Yes, Tyler, Troy is a ghost. Just
yeah.
I am. Yes, I'm Disembodied Troy. I remain disembodied. I'm just a mist. I'm a pesky mist.
Yep.
The other thing I loved about the work here is just the occult cop, the hungry ghost, underworld captain. There's just some really fun stuff in there that also could be a little portable in many ways. So yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
Now, did you have any thoughts on a wine pairing?
Oh, I feel like you have to eat really cheap instant ramen with this.
Right.
The cheaper the ramen, the better it will be.
I do like that. Once we get to the Q&A section, if anyone else would like to amend the answer for what meal or beverage or libation would fit. Thank you very much, Katherine. Appreciate you, and looking forward to hearing what people think about your submission. And so let's talk to Sean. Sean, let's talk about this. Transmigration. What is this about?
Well, I assumed that since everyone else would be writing something that was that was conducive to hope and joy, that I would bring the mood down. it's a biological apocalypse where
sure.
the human race is doomed
Okay.
from the get-go, but you get to be one of the people who gets to survive, but you don't survive as human. And it comes largely from a sense of despair and rage. And it was interesting, Katherine was talking about the biracial experience. This is really really comes from the queer experience, and the trans experience, and it comes from the experience of just wanting to tear the whole damn thing down. And also it comes from an experience of not wanting to continually be a model minority. We get to be monsters in this. It's very much biological horror. It's very Cronenbergian. I was also amused. Monte was talking about doing due diligence and giving like 3 different ideas. I went off and wrote a 4,000 words setting in its entirety without telling Malcolm what I was doing. And
here's my pitch: a complete setting.
Yeah, I just went and wrote it, and it is wild. I have known Malcolm Sheppard for nearly 20 years, and he is somehow still my friend. And I know it's getting close at this moment, but
well, I edited it, and because you didn't go far enough.
I know. What there are a number of places where I basically put a lid on my rage and my tear it down energy that I wanted to bring here. And when I saw the final, the PDF of the final result, Malcolm had put in everything that I had stopped myself saying.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely wonderful, and why I love working with Malcolm, because I feel that Malcolm is one of the very few people who Malcolm is the person who writes the sort of role-playing games that I would like to write. And I try to write in Malcolm's style generally when I write role-playing games.
Oh,
But Sean, I hear you. He is the designer's designer. He's the developer's developer.
And Malcolm thinks deeply about these things, and yet nonetheless, also to be fair, had I written something, had I gone off and written an entire setting and said, here's my pitch, and Malcolm had decided that it sucked, Malcolm would tell me that it sucked and tell me to go off and write another one. Right.
Yeah.
With absolutely no animus or anything. It's just like, this isn't good enough, Sean. You can write another one. But Malcolm had faith in what I was writing, which is very difficult and very gnarly. And also, I think, hi Tybalt. I mean, Tybalt agrees, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I think that's mine. I think that he's mad that I won't.
Yeah,
he's mad that I won't feed him.
Also agrees. Yeah, well, your cat also agrees. Yeah, it's very gnarly. There's a lot of biological horror. There's a lot of human beings being warped into lots of Cronenbergian things. I think it's probably one of the most personal, but also one of the riskiest things he did. And the art is interesting because very early on, I was a contributor to Modern Age and several of the Modern Age books, into Threefold and some other stuff, and to Cthulhu Awakens. And there is a signature character who appears in many alternative forms, who Malcolm deliberately had in the original art notes based on me, and which I've always been hugely grateful for. And there they are, right in the middle of it. This incredibly personal, incredibly bleak setting about the only way in there being hope, basically being prepared to be something else,
right?
Is kind of yeah, it means a lot actually that Malcolm actually, presumably you did the art notes for that, right?
Well, I want to do a quick thing about how the art got done because of the way the settings worked, and I wanted there to be basically engine is still small. Like this one is twice the size of the last one, but it's still small.
Right.
It's still in a smaller format. But one of the things is, to kind of make things work visually, what I asked Hal to do, and Hal, great artists for this, was basically to have one bang, big full page piece per, and also one sort of logo or design element per, right? Because I find having like a single arresting image does more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just speak real quick, Sean, to your point on the, the theming and the way that this is written, and the notion that you kind of held back and that Malcolm was able to sort of draw it out of the writing is just really, it speaks volumes for both the work that you're doing, that everyone's doing, and Malcolm's ability to kind of draw these folks together and to create a space that you get to fill and do it authentically, and he can catch it when it might be off, and then amplify it where it needs to be amplified. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as a developer, I think Malcolm works harder than any other developer I've worked with in 20 years of writing role-playing games on and off, because Malcolm basically does the due diligence of making something consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no mean feat in something with as settings as disparate as ours. Aside from the fact that we're all complete lefties, it's absolutely just great that you've got this joint vision in wildly different. You got that joyous space adventure and the sort of fantastic and fun monster hunting adventure, and you got the social fantasy thing, the sort of very sort of high social fantasy thing, and my thing, and that just sort of sits there scabrously in the corner, and Malcolm somehow manages to make it all fit together and feel like we're part of like a team.
The threads
I'm working with good material. Like, this is the thing, right? What makes this stuff work ultimately is people, right? Is people doing the work who take their own work seriously. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I find is a real problem, especially in games, is that you are constantly being told not to take yourself too seriously, which changes into don't take yourself seriously at all, which changes into crush any difference in expression under your heel,
right?
For the greater dignity of the hobby, and some kind of deep-seated self-hatred, and I'm tired of it,
Yeah.
So I like it when people are bringing things that are, that they're into, right? Mm-hmm. And where I know that they're going to do great stuff. And when I see that, if they have the skills that these four have, right, then I know that when the editing and development comes, mostly what I'm doing is I'm communicating with the text that I got, right? What are things that are unsaid, right? That should be said. Like, what is being held back? What are some great features that could stand to be further developed? Like with Zarat, I really like the idea of just paring back the idea of a hierarchical society as far back as we can, and still end up with organization and social cohesion and things like that, right? And similarly, I have I have dipped my toes in the same cultural spheres as Sean. So when they're writing, with when they're writing about queer identity and queer identity and psychological cognitive difference in relationship with monstrousness, right, in relationship with horror genre. That's something that has a tradition.
Yep.
And I know Sean knows the tradition, and I know Sean is interacting with the tradition in a specific way, and in a very sophisticated way, because as Sean didn't mention, Sean also wrote We Don't Go Back, which was a horror Writers Association nominated nonfiction work about folk horror. And so it means that I can see whispers of it. I can see whispers of what Sean is doing, right?
Yeah.
And I can go, more of that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Illustrating my point from earlier, when just the notion that you can work with creatives and I think the concept of you saying you're having a dialogue with the words you've been given, and that to me speaks. That's just such an insight into the creative process that it's beyond just kind of being a great writer. It's about being. I mean, these are social systems that are kind of being upended and folded into these worlds in a way that lets people go, well, wait, it can be different, or I can enjoy this, or and I can take a time out of my and there is a certain energy within the TTRPG space. There has been in the past. It's gotten much better where there's a kind of a peeing in the four corners of this space, and you may own, like, this is owned and this is already claimed, and we don't deviate. And it's one of the things that's great about the adventure game engine stuff is that it's meant to be taken apart and used, and this is just a phenomenal way to illustrate that stuff. Now we've got a lot of questions. Oh, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add, Troy, that for folks who get a look at these settings, we've been talking about the high concepts of the settings, and they're terrific in and of their own right. But these are also really just amazingly meaty settings in terms of their game material.
That's right.
Oftentimes when we talk about a sort of light approach to game design, that often just means absent approach of just there aren't any game mechanics. It's just make things up, and these settings really take the basic setup of the simple game engine and apply it in all of these really interesting ways, and have these really interesting mechanical bits to them that are like, that's a really cool idea to it, just in its own right. And I love, especially when game mechanics and setting come together to express a really interesting idea that I'm sure Malcolm has a great example of.
We have this great Rorschach ink blot kind of thing, right? Because I sent the rules out to everybody, and so each of them read them and then had, they decided to apply them in distinctive ways, right? And I thought that was super cool, right?
Yeah.
So for example, Half Moon Department has a whole bunch of abilities that have to do with consuming supernatural power from different sources that different characters will have particular resonance with, right? So that's super cool. And Guardians of the Key has abilities based on virtues, and of course, the villains have evil anti-virtues, and also kind of has a system where power is determined in part by how many things you can do at the same time with the key, right? I know there's a question about how key unlocking works, and I just want to tell people that I will answer that in a post.
Nice.
At a later time.
So what we're going to do now, there were plenty of questions in chat, and I'm encouraging folks to repost them now. That was one of them for sure. There is, let's have you, we'll take about maybe 10 or so minutes to let folks gather their steam. One of the things that people are repeating over and over again is what a great group this is. And it strikes me, Malcolm, that Engine is kind of a salon. It's kind of a space to express and explore and to not only take the less trodden path, but to create a whole new one, and a what if kind of experience that is really evident in this stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Waiting for some questions now. Go ahead, please.
I just also wanted to say for folks from the chat while you're formulating your questions, if any of you have already picked up the PDF and are eagerly looking through all of this great stuff, we'd love to hear what you think. Just what are your initial impressions and reactions to how things look and what excites you about it?
And if you decide to run something, or you want to do perhaps you're going to do a live stream, or we'd love to hear your feedback and your reaction, your thoughts, and you can send us a note to letsplay@greenronin.com, and we'll be happy to share that with the world. We're really looking forward to hearing what you're talking about. So Loco Tomo says our Mystic Navigator is starving. Is Stranger Shores sourcebook in the works? And if yes, when can we expect it?
Yes, next year. Yes, right now. Right now, I have just finished going through most of the first drafts. When I get all of the first drafts in, I will be finishing off what we call redlining, which is the interim development process, and sending them back to everybody at once. There's some cool stuff happening in there, some of which we will preview here and there, such as new ancestries and other cool stuff.
Oh, I can't wait. We can preview my favorite new ancestry.
There's some lefty shit in there too.
Oh,
that's right. That's right.
Can't say anything else because some of us are under NDAs, but
that's right.
There's some lefty shit in there.
What's the most popular answer in the game industry about what have you been doing lately? Upholding my NDA.
That's right. Right. I do want to jump to this question. It's something. It's the for the sake of the Age Creators Alliance folks.
We lost you there, Troy.
Oh,
I'm
having some kind of an internet collision. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back, yep.
There we go. Now I'm back again. Internet.
There's the problem.
Yeah.
Steve and I were in the wrong place. It was interfering with
I don't even know how that happened.
Off the cosmic balance once again.
Yeah.
The algorithm was like, we're going to rearrange this for you. But here's the question. Stromer asks about Age Creators Alliance folks, and is any of this content available for Age Creators Alliance folks to use?
Not yet. We are talking about what we're going to do with Sage and with all of that in the long term. One of the things I want to make clear is this is kind of an evolutionary step, and it's something that we're going to build on in future work, where we really expand the bounds of what Age does and what we offer. It's just that we want to start with baby steps such as this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a non-answer for you.
Stay tuned, friends. Yeah.
And to be super honest, we are all committing capitalism here. So,
you can't
go out and buy this and tell all your friends to buy it, because the more that happens, the more we're like, yes, we need to do more of this.
Exactly.
We're all we're all the stick-carrying peasants from that cartoon.
I was gonna say the more lefty shit you want, the more you have to purchase. So then Malcolm can say to the boss, "Hey,
right?
Look at what these people love. Look at what the people love.
We can afford to eat. We should make more of this."
There's a Brady Bunch joke in the chat, by the way.
Of course.
I imagine. I was waiting for So here's another question. So Michael in chat asks, there are elements of this that remind me of the old Amazing Engine setup. Was that an influence at all?
Oh, I wish I could say it was. Yeah, right? I was like, that's a blast from the past. I wish I could say yes. Because I thought the Amazing Engine was like loaded with all of these really crazy creative settings that does kind of remind me of what we've done in this issue of Engine. But I didn't think of it at all until just now.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was also news to me. I saw it in a game store in the 90s once.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So Tempo asks, just to reiterate, is the autocracy based on Earth? Monte.
I guess, I mean, spoilers, yeah. So, yeah, I specifically wanted the big enemy to be human because I wanted this theme of the characters being human having to fix, their own crap, right?
Mhm.
I did not want, another unknowable alien species being the bad guys kind of thing. So basically the theme of fixing the problems in your own backyard. And I on purposely picked that. So
Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. All right. So here's what we're going to do real quick. Colm, imagine that someone was preparing their meal that they were going to pair with your with what you've written here. What should they be eating? What should they be preparing?
Well, my instinct is just definitely something Moroccan, something with kind of those kind of
Yeah.
levels of spice in that. It's something made in a tureen, probably, or over a raw campfire in the middle of a Bedouin's tent.
There we go. All right.
But
I like
with
it.
Guinness. Yeah.
Monty, did you want to think about what is a good food that folks should?
there would be two choices. One would be a really terrible like MRE with like closet moonshine.
Yeah.
Or
Nutrient paste.
yeah, or like a whole like banquet of foods from everywhere, basically.
Mhm.
I see. Excellent. And so, Catherine, you mentioned ramen, one of those bad kind of cup noodle ramen touch style
Mhm.
lunches. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, someone in chat mentioned you have to put the egg in it.
Yes.
You
that's
have to
right.
put the egg in, and you have to have like some other cheap like 7-Eleven food.
I was going
Right.
to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Some
packaged,
Slim Jim or
already made
something.
sandwich of some kind.
Yeah. Some sort of awful Pop-Tart that we all know is going to kill us, but it's so damn
But we're
good.
called to it anyway. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. The shiny packaging.
Mhm.
Sean, I'm really curious. In a world of monsters, what is the dish?
Mushrooms. Mushrooms.
Mushrooms. Okay, I love it. All right, just a handful of mushrooms. Just kind of.
I mean, you can prepare them any way you want, but it's mushrooms.
Right.
Only once if you read it, you know it's mushrooms.
Right.
You know,
It's fungus
Yeah,
all the
you
way
can just
down.
grab mushrooms
Yeah,
from the
right.
ground at random and exactly simulate the outcome for humanity.
Exactly. Because remember, all mushrooms are possible at least once.
That's right. That is true. That is true.
I did really love with Sean's because you said that like, oh, it's just like off on the corner. Like that was the opposite of the case with me. Like Malcolm said, hey, this is the standard of what it's gonna have to be.
oh,
And
good God.
so the energy was just like, fuck it, we ball.
Yeah,
And
that's
that was
right.
the whole kind of energy of it was just kind of like a no, we're not playing nice anymore. We ball.
Mm-mm.
You know what I
And-
love about this is we are professionals because we waited to use up our fuck budget until the end. We saved it up,
did,
which
yeah.
is
Exactly.
phenomenal.
Funny
Always,
name.
always keep your fucks dry.
That's
you know.
right. That's right. Keep them ready to go. Let them go before you. Yeah. Hey, this has been such a great conversation, and what I love about this, I absolutely fell in love with each one of these spaces, and that theme that ran throughout, that kind of subversive sort of moments of like, what if the subversive was normal, and opportunities to. I mean, it was very moving. Hats off to Malcolm and Steve for putting this sort of this space together, and the four of you are phenomenal creators.
Right.
It's absolutely fantastic. And I cannot wait
you.
to hear what folks think. It is it's a tour de force. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I really look forward to seeing the creative journey that this takes people on. It's good stuff. Awesome. So I think anything else for the good of the order? Do we want to talk a little bit about folks use those QR codes and
Yes.
pick up? Go ahead, Steve.
Troy, for folks who would like to continue this lovely conversation,
Ooh, yeah.
perhaps they would like to visit the Atomic Think Tank.
You know what? The Atomic Think Tank is a space that's meant for just this kind of thing. You go to atomicthinktank.com. It's our community hub. We've got so much going on in there, and it's coming from all angles. We've got Mutants and Masterminds 4th edition stuff. We've got, of course, homebrew age stuff. We've got the Age Creators Alliance. We'll have this conversation going in there. You should stop by and hang out. And I mean, my feeling is, my vibe is on this is that we're not done talking about this. There's so many great opportunities And if you want to keep on top of those opportunities and you want to be in the know, head on over to the Atomic Think Tank and sign up. It's free, it's fun, it's festive, and and we'll all be there. So do that. And thank you, Steve, for that note.
Mhm.
Anything else for the good of the order, friends?
I got yet another question about Swords of the Shadow Planet. It
I was-
is text complete
Yes.
and developed and edited, and it is just in our queue, and it will be the greatest RPG about rationalist Neanderthal nanotech sorcerers, dinosaur people, and very strange, originally French cultists.
Right.
Yeah.
You're ever going to see.
Yeah.
I think I
I
heard
got
Tempo
a
squeal.
question from the chat too. Someone
Yeah.
asked if cats still live in my setting.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
That sounds
It's
very
yes-
conditional.
It's yes
Laden.
and.
It sounded
Right.
burdened.
Yeah. That's the
All
answer.
right.
In precisely that tone.
Excellent. Well, you folks are going to have to go pick it up so you can find out just exactly what kind of thing.
Do I like it?
Worst
Sean
name
believes.
yet.
I like
Better
it.
than
Oh, I love it. All right, guys. Friends, everyone, chat, thank you as well for hanging out. We really wanted to do something special for this. And again, thank you to folks who came and, from all over the globe to hang out with us from all the different time zones. We made it happen, and it was just an absolute delight. Truly, truly appreciate you taking time. And with that, I say have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. And we'll be back on Monday for Mutants and Masterminds Monday, 3 p.m. You're fine, Tempo. He's just like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not to worry. That's exactly why we do this, as a matter of
Yes.
fact. Again, my thanks to everybody, and take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.